Medupi Power Station project is one of 3 power stations being built by Eskom at the moment. The others are the coal-fired Kusile station near Emalahleni in Mpumalanga and the Ingula pump storage scheme near Ladysmith in KwaZulu-Natal. Medupi is one of Africa's largest single construction projects. The power station is located in the Limpopo province in South Africa, just outside of one small town, Lephalale. When completed, it will have 6 800 megawatt units, producing 4,800 megawatts of power. Medupi will be the 4th largest coal-fired station in the Southern Hemisphere. While Eskom is building a power station to keep the nation powered, it also seeks to leave a sustainable legacy. The Medupi Legacy Project will benefit both the Lephalale municipal area, the Waterberg District Municipality, and the Limpopo province as a whole. Improvements in health and education, infrastructure development, employment creation and procurement opportunities are the key focus area of the Legacy program. Medupi aspires to the highest possible standards of environmental performance. On the construction side, there are many aspects that are very important to its success. In an effort to improve the efficiency of the station, supercritical boilers and turbines will be installed. These operate at higher temperatures and pressures than Eskom's other stations.
So for example, this power station has and makes use of what they call supercritical boiler and turbine technology, which effectively means we are more efficient and make more megawatts for less coal than we burn. So we actually have a lower carbon footprint per megawatt than you would for different and obviously lower grade type power stations. The other technology we use is an air-cooled condenser technology, which is a technology which minimizes ambient water exposure to atmosphere, which means your water loss in this water scarce area is considerably lower than other power stations throughout South Africa. And I think the last one is the removal of a lot of the fly ash from our flue gas that we produce during the combustion process. We use a fabric filter plant system, which effectively is a very effective scrubber which removes as much of that ash from the atmosphere as possible. So we are not just looking after the local footprint, but the larger impact on the environment itself through the technology choice on this power station as well.
The supercritical design will ensure greater efficiencies in terms of water and coal use and will have improved environmental performance.
Well, look, controls are numerous on a project of this scale, but as you can see behind me, one of the biggest things that we find ourselves in is management of water. We do find ourselves in a very water scarce area. Our rainfall levels are very low, so we need to be very careful with the amount of water that we use and how we manage that water effectively. So in terms of this facility that you see behind me, essentially this is a pollution control facility that collects all stormwater that falls within the project area, and that water is reused again in the generation process. So we try and reuse and recycle as much of the water as possible. As you can see behind me, the power station also doesn't contain things like cooling towers that you'd see in traditional coal-fired power stations. And that way we also recycle all the water instead of just emitting it out into the atmosphere. So there's a lot of work that goes into our impact on the environment and trying to minimize our footprint, but still trying to produce electricity for the country in a sustainable manner.
During the clearing of the Medupi site, some 840 hectares, many environmental factors were highlighted. Nationally and provincially protected trees were either replanted or transported to a special nursery at the adjacent Matimba power station. Not only trees are being cared for, but some game as well.
If you look at Medupi, when we first built and sited the power station, we did a lot of flora and fauna analysis. So on our arrival, we had identified endangered or protected trees. So for example, we found that we had a baobab tree which was growing literally where we're building Unit 3's boiler and turbine. We effectively replanted that tree at the entrance to the site. It was a very carefully controlled process. We effectively dug it up, and that tree weighed in excess of 70 tons when we put it on the back of a low bed truck and moved it across, and it's growing outside very successfully. So we've identified a lot of the local flora. With regards to fauna, we had a lot of wildlife and buck on site, and we spent a lot of time darting them and moving them to our sister power station, Matimba, and effectively have left them there. Some of the other animals we felt less comfortable to move simply from a view of hurting or endangering them. So from that point of view, it's been, I think, a good success story. One of the other ones that I guess goes with this terrain we're working in is we have a lot of snakes in this area. In fact, we have 8 of the 10 most poisonous snakes in South Africa in this area. So we hire a local snake catcher. We've successfully found and removed in excess of 1,300 snakes on site and sort of relocated them to neighbouring farms. So we spend as much time as making our impact as minimal as possible.
Marius Kukumur is the man in charge of relocating these snakes, a job not envied by many. Kukumur runs workshops for workers on site to educate them about the different kinds of snakes that are found in the area and what to do in the event of a snake bite.
All the non-venomous snakes, even this little guy that's dangerous, we let go. We let him go again on private game farms, and we let him go at the Nyala Game Reserve. There's a lot of places, even Marakele, some of the snakes we release there. Big pythons, it's always a problem. The environmental guys don't want you to release a big python further away than 30 kilometers from where you catch it. So, and normally if you release it too closer than 12 kilometers, they return. The venom, the anti-venom for the deadly snakes that we get, all the deadly snakes, black mamba, snouted cobra, Mozambican spitting cobra, boomslang, the twig snake we send for tests, but all those venomous stuff we send off to the guys that are doing the venom extraction for production of anti-venom, and that can save lives.
Medupi has 6 units. The first is due to start generating electricity during the second half of 2014. South Africa needs Medupi in order to enable higher rates of economic growth, and on top of bringing power to the people, the station is also building a legacy of skills and industrial development for the country. From creating jobs while building a creche to creating jobs for building one of the biggest structures in Africa, Medupi. Eskom employs 17,000 people here, with over 40% of these people coming from the Lephalale area.
Medupi as a project reaches out and touches people in many different ways. So for example, during the construction of this project, we're going to go and influence skills development, we're going to influence regional and national localization, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. We're going to talk about skills development of infrastructure. We're going to make a big difference to Lephalale, to Limpopo, and then to the rest of South Africa. If you look at where we are with regards to localization and manufacturing technology, the last big builds in South Africa took place over 20 years ago. And the last power stations we built were Majuba and Matimba power stations. And since then, a lot of the localized skills in terms of manufacturing experience and expertise has been lost. So since we placed the boiler contracts with Hitachi now, we've now reintroduced effectively into South Africa boiler manufacturing technology again, which effectively allows us to manufacture boilers in South Africa and use them for the South African environment, or if we wish, to export them. So we've effectively recreated a lot of the infrastructure we lost before, which is a huge step forward in terms of what the project has done for the country.
With unique projects like Medupi comes unique skills. Skills development is at the heart of the power project.
Skills development is the lifeblood of South Africa. We're building a new future for tomorrow today. So we spend a lot of our time injecting prerequisite requirements into our contracts on our contractors. So in the older SCISA, the Accelerated Shared Growth Initiative in South Africa, we built a lot of contractual training programs and skills delivery requirements into our contracts, which are measured in great detail. And they're focused on things like boiler making, artisan training, your requisite boiler making, all the trade skills from the very highest to the very lowest level. So we have things as high as tertiary education built into these skills transfer programs and development programs, to as low as pipe fitters, bricklayers and so on. So it's right across the educational spectrum. We also focus a lot on skills transfer on the work site. So a lot of the local people we employ, we bring onto the job will come on with very basic skills that we'll then take up through in-house training programs. The contractors, for example, have built training facilities in Lephalale itself. The Srilanka Training Centre is one example, built through this project, that allows people to be employed from the local area, go through physical artisan and boiler making and welding training, and effectively then being deployed onto site to use those skills that they've picked up.
The Srilanka Training Centre is the flagship project of skills development legacy to be left by the project. It was started in October 2008 by construction firm Murray & Roberts as part of its contractual obligations to Hitachi, which is contracted by Eskom to build the supercritical boiler plant. The centre is required to produce 700 artisans as part of the Accelerated and Shared Growth Initiative for South Africa. So far, 233 people have completed their training and 368 are busy with their course.
What we're currently doing for Murray & Roberts, we do training for Murray & Roberts through Hitachi and Eskom. So what we're doing is we train all the SCISA targets that they've got. They need to train 650 artisans up to artisan level. So we're doing it for Murray & Roberts on behalf of Hitachi. We usually take around about 120 per intake. We've got 6 intakes, and the recruitment is done with psychometric testing and evaluation and interviews and practical work before they start with the training itself. think it's very important. I mean, if you look at just the area itself, people don't have the skills at all. They start here, they've got nothing. At the end, when they walk out here, they've got a trade certificate. So I think it's very important for not even just for the region, for the whole of the Popo and even the country.
One of the graduates from the Tlalong Training Center is Lincoln Mohlaka. Lincoln has transformed from being unemployed for 6 months to becoming a qualified boilermaker thanks to his training at the academy.
I enrolled at the college, and then lucky enough for me, I only did 1 block at the college, and then I got taken by Marian Roberts to train as a boilermaker for the project. At the training center, it's basically the fundamentals of engineering. Like, it's basically the thing that you're going to do on site. But what you do in the training center and what you do on site it's slightly different. But otherwise, the principles that you learn there and what you're going to apply here, it's basically the same. You could say that had it not been for them, I don't know where I would be by now. Because in the day, like I told you, what had happened in the past and everything, So yeah, what they've done together with the government, to make sure that this type of things are here, it's very important.
Mohlaka is just one of the many employees who has gone through the Tlalong Training Center, with many of the graduates keen to further their studies through the scheme.
My name is California Kumalo. I'm a qualified rigger artisan. For my future, I can now work anywhere I want to work. I can go overseas. I'm a qualified artisan in Section 13, the one that they wanted most.
My name is Elsie Munyibodi and my title is boiler making. I want to be more than a boiler maker. I want to be a technician or engineer. I want to go further with my training.
After the ad break, we'll find out how the Medupi project is giving back to the town of Lephalale and to the small business owners in the region. Lephalale, previously known as Ellisras, is rich with coal which is mined by Exaro at the Kusile coal mine. The Kusile coal mine is the largest open-cast mine together with benefaction plants of its kind in the world. One of the major drawcards for Medupi to be situated in the Lephalale region is the area's rich coal resources. The once small mining town is now a bustling city. Medupi will increase Lephalale's GDP by 95%. Since the beginning of the Medupi project in August 2007, a total of 2.3 billion rand has been invested in the infrastructure in Lephalale. To date, Eskom has built 995 houses and bought 321 in the Lephalale region. Financial support was provided towards the town's electricity, sewage, roads and police facilities.
Medupi is an opportunity, and the opportunity has to be explored by everybody. So one of our big focal points, as I've mentioned, is Lephalale as a town. So for example, we can cite many cases of businessmen, good-minded businessmen that have used really basic opportunities like taking child grant money, growing steel and structural steel businesses from absolutely nothing in Lephalale. We've got very good cases of, for example, our local cleaning contract that we've placed to do a lot of laundry services. One of the ladies there has been a cleaning lady for in excess of 10 years, and now she's heading one of these big contracts with Eskom and her company to be able to do laundry and supply services to the project. So we've got many cases of big success stories, but I think some of the real good ones that we've got are particularly one of our contracts which relates to feeding on site. We provide everybody on site a daily meal, and we provide a breakfast and a dinner to those people that stay in our construction villages. So if you look at the number, you're applying essentially supplying approximately 20,000 meals a day. And if you stretch that out over a year, that's just over 6.5 million meals a year that you're providing through this contract. And this feeding contract is one of the largest feeding contracts ever in the history of South Africa. It's just under 700 million rand between Eskom and a joint venture of a number of local CCs in Lephalale and a large national feeding contract. And there's a lot of skills development and uplift taking place. But if you look at that as a single case of success, it's probably one of our pride stories, because not only is it giving opportunities for the local business, but we're also using a lot of the local produce. So for example, fruit, vegetables, chicken, beef and so on. So all of that is a very neatly spun story of what Medupi has done to give opportunities to those that actually want to take the opportunity. So I think Medupi is certainly a very positive vehicle that people have used wisely.
With a headcount of over 17,000 at the Medupi power station, making sure workers are fed is no easy feat, but the Lephalale Site Services does it efficiently. Lephalale Site Services is a joint venture involving FedEx Site Services and Mooncloud, a local community partner. And together, they are responsible for serving 22,000 meals per day at the Medupi project.
Yes, this is a very big contract, and we are all very excited to be involved in a contract of this size. We here at Marapong have around 4,000 residents. We serve them breakfast and dinner. Their lunches are sent to Medupi. We're receiving somewhere around 13,500 orders for Medupi lunches only. And we're using quite a big quantity of a variety of food products. For instance, your protein would be around 3,125 that we prepare for Medupi lunch only. And we're using roughly 800 to 1,000 kilograms of beef and chicken for here for dinner. As far as the starch is concerned, we're preparing something like 1,500, that is meal and rice together for Medupi lunches, and we producing something like 1,300 kilograms of vegetables, fresh vegetables. These vegetables are sourced locally. We do have a local vegetable supplier. All the dairy products are sourced from locally. The meat products are sourced from the former Nailstroom, which is within the Waterberg area. They do have local partners here. And these deliveries are done on a weekly basis.
Local procurement is important. Eskom has placed contracts valued at 700 million rand with the Lephalale and Waterberg-based suppliers since commencement of the project.
In terms of our procurement delivery strategy, to ensure that the suppliers that are going to be building Medupi are assisting us in developing local industries. So we have a local content target of up to 50%, but I can say that comfortably we're sitting at above 50% at the moment. By developing the local industries, we ensure that at the same time we transform that industries. So our contractors have got targets to say, while you're going to be procuring within the boundaries of South Africa, please ensure that you are able to integrate the previously disadvantaged companies within your procurement, your supply chain. So one of these cases is the story of Mukwatlo. Mukwatlo is a local in Lephalale, a small PWO. It's owned 60% by a black woman and his brother owning the remainder of the shares. It started out of nothing, whereby the woman, the lady in question, used the child grant to be able to register a company. I can tell you that now that company has been involved in building in building of the rakes that are in the Patients Group reclaimer staker. It was quite a mean feat, for instance, for a company of that magnitude to be able to do that in terms of the staker. And that staker, the rakes, those rakes are some of the biggest rakes to be found in the reclaimer in the world. In fact, it's the second biggest. The other one is in Sishen. And that company has grown to do business not only with Eskom Medupi, but is doing with other contractors within the power plant, as well as in the Rustenburg platinum mines, as well as in Sishen iron ore mines.
An estimated 70% of the 700 million rand spent on procurement will benefit enterprises owned by black women in the area. Mamsi Swanepoel owns Malunga, a security company. In 2009, she enrolled into Eskom's Contractors Academy, where she learned essential skills to grow her business. Contractor academies are also growing businesses near the Kusile and Ingula projects.
By 1999, I was having like only 20 people. But since I've gone to the Contractors Academy and managed to profile myself correctly and in a correct way, now Mpumalanga is very big because I'm having around about 450 employees currently. If it wasn't for Eskom, my business won't be like this today because I won't be having the knowledge that I'm having currently. As a graduate from the university, I'm very much proud of myself, and I still say thanks Eskom to let me have the opportunity of going to Contractors Academy.
building a power station isn't just about the power station, it's what you do in the wider and the greater scheme of things. So Eskom and our contractors' corporate social investment is focused on going the extra mile and doing that much more and leaving what we call a legacy behind. It's actually part of our legacy program. So for example, Eskom has focused its energies firmly on healthcare, and our contractors have focused a lot of their energies on upliftment and education. So we have parallel streams running. So what we want to leave behind for the localization component from Eskom is a better healthcare network and infrastructure. And in fact, Eskom has invested significantly in upgrading of local clinics and local healthcare facilities, where our contractors on the educational side have invested in local creches. Between ourselves, we've jointly invested in local schools, we've brought in additional teachers, we've donated classrooms. So we've made a concerted effort locally into the community.
In August 2011, Eskom opened up a wellness center and accommodation for the nurses of Seleka Clinic to deal specifically with HIV, TB, and other related illnesses. This has greatly reduced a huge burden on the staff and, more importantly, the people of the village and the surrounding areas.
Eskom have got a commitment with education, health, all that sort of thing in this area. And I think with the reason this came about is the clinic was already in place, but with the sort of diseases this clinic deals with, we're looking at TB, HIV, and there's quite a stigma attached to those. And the sister for this clinic thought it would be a good idea to have something slightly separate, so people had a bit of privacy when they came to the clinic and not having to sort of go in the main door, but they could go somewhere that they could talk about what the issues were and be dealt with confidentially.
Over 3 million rand was spent on the wellness clinic, which included park homes for the clinic itself and nurses' accommodation. Education is important in any community and has a positive effect on human development. For these reasons, Eskom's contractor Hitachi has looked to help the Sahwati preschool in Shongwane village in Lephalale. Helen Monanyane, the principal, started the creche in 2007 in a one-bedroom shack which catered for 43 kids. Hitachi has built Monanyane and her 83 kids a new school, one that will make any principal proud.
I think we are rich because we have this house, a beautiful house, water as you can see, and beautiful furniture inside. Everything is fine and surrounding is good.
Hitachi started noticing this crash. They were, like the principal said, they were in a shack with 43 kids, and then as part of our CSI initiative, we decided to build this crèche for them. We have used 1.3 million to set up this crèche, and 99% of the community was employed, starting from the bricklaying, painting, everything. 5 local suppliers supplied building material for the construction company.
Medupi is a power station and will make electricity, and we know that this is an inevitability and it will assist South Africa from an economic growth point of view. But Medupi is more than just electricity. Medupi is about a legacy, it's about a footprint, it's about changing tomorrow. And we're going about that through the way we invest in our contracts, the way we are getting our contractors to focus on localization in South Africa. So for example, our contract with Hitachi, 60% of the value of that contract must remain within the borders of South Africa. It's a prerequisite. So we keep as much of the capital that we can, where practical, within the borders of South Africa and focus the investment on South Africa. We've talked extensively about skills development. We've talked extensively about healthcare. We've talked about education. We've talked about making this power station the springboard and the opportunity for local businessmen from a growth and a development and a contributory opportunity as well. So Medupi is truly all about South Africa, and on this project we talk about Medupi making and contributing to what we call South Africa Incorporated. So for us, it's not just about making megawatts, it's about changing South Africa through what we do every day for tomorrow.